question first. The name of your group, is it pronounced Tizre?
No, not after the disgusting sugary drink. No,
I haven't had Tizre for years.
Yes, to tell me about it. It's actually Tisrae.
Tisrae, okay.
Tisrae, yeah, simple as that.
What does it mean? Where's it from?
Oh, well, do you know, well, okay. So we mentioned Tizre. So my nickname years ago used to be Tizre, and it kind of over the years it kind of was dropped, etc., etc. And then when I was thinking of a name of the group, and I thought, oh, Tizre, and I thought, well, I don't want to call it. Well, I probably won't be able to call it Tizre, but I thought I wanted to give it a bit of a sort of a European sort of. There's no accent above the E officially, and I thought I'll call it Tisrae. But then later I found out there are actually quite a lot of posts on YouTube from DJs and artists that call themselves Tisrae. And if you Google the word Tisrae, it does actually originate from lots of sort of Arabic, French, Algerian of different meanings, from flowers and stuff like that. And I had no idea of any of this stuff. It was a pure coincidence.
It's amazing how these come out. The last radio station I was working for was Planet Apuri FM. Apuri is Japanese for app. And it was basically a quiz game show app that you downloaded. So it was app radio in Japanese. It's amazing what people come up with it, because they were Austrian, half Austrian, half German. Sounds horribly familiar. And they chose a Japanese word as their radio station name.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Excellent.
I'm joined with Terry and other contributing artists of Tisrae. Thanks, guys, for joining me in what appears to be an exciting time for the group. With this in mind, your first release last May 2020, Love Over Destruction, saw a compelling rise of music creator interest, with specific tracks on the album, plus the singles, in particular, Sadder Than Strange. You're back this year with a follow-up, Hope Over Destruction Volume 2, releasing May the 10th. Terry, may I ask you first, your music's often described as electro, soft, rock, pop, Volume 2. Is this based because it's a similar theme of the songs, or has it appeared because it's your second release?
It's a good question. I mean, Volume 2 is because it is the second release. In terms of any synergy with the sort of the vibe and the feel of the songs on the second album, Hope Over Destruction, it's a continuation of that kind of eclectic range of different musical styles and certainly musical backgrounds that I sort of have that are very eclectic, in the sense that, you know, it can be anything from literally, you know, sort of soft pop rock to pure pop, melodic pop, to, you know, sort of electronic, almost electronic sort of dance music. So in terms of the transition between the first album of Love Over Destruction to now Hope Over Destruction, it is a continuation of themes around the eclectic range of music that's presented on this second album. But Volume 2 simply is, it's the second outing for us. I'm particularly very excited about this album because I've had an opportunity to spend a lot longer on it due to COVID restrictions and everything, and sort of really take my time in terms of, you know, going back to particular tracks, listening to them again, because if you're writing and producing music and you're listening to it all the time, you know, there's a technical term that your ears can bleed, and it all sort of gets melted into one. So I've had the opportunity to, you know, sort of arrange and then get the track recorded and then leave it for like a week and then come back to it with fresh ears. And I guess that, you know, for many artists, this kind of COVID period, as sad as it is for everyone, it's given me an opportunity to really kind of slow the process down and really approach each song with a completely different perspective, as I did with the first album.
Excellent. Right, I've heard the album. There's a very eclectic range of musical styles, some electronic sort of R&B style pop and rock. Then on 3 tracks, an orchestral arrangement is used to support some of the pop rock elements. You certainly couldn't pigeonhole your music. Terry, why so many different styles?
Okay. So, I don't think you could certainly pigeonhole our music. I mean, in terms of feedback from people that listen to us, is that, you know, they're brought in one direction and then quickly on the next track they're brought into a completely different direction. So, which I think is nice, because I like to create an album that's kind of like a journey, and with lots of different twists and turns and different sort of avenues that can go off that journey that people can explore. And of course, a lot of people like every kind of eclectic style of music that sits on the album. And there always will be, of course, people that will think, oh, I really prefer this kind of bulk of musical styles as opposed to the other ones, which is fine, but I just really wanted to kind of get this escapism and a journey for the listener to go through. And there will be some tracks where the listeners will think, oh, it doesn't quite sit well with me, but they listen to it for a few times and think, actually, it's kind of growing on me. But with the orchestral arrangements, the 3 songs that you referred to, Always the Sun, a great Stranglers track back in the day, and of course Electric Blue with Icehouse, and of course the prologue, which is an amalgamation of 6 songs from the track. One, I wanted to be just a little bit different. 2, I'm kind of, I am kind of inspired by kind of musical theatre, and I love kind of like classic show tunes. And often when you used to buy like the original soundtrack to musicals, there'd always be like this prologue to sort of whet the appetite of the listener that, okay, so this is what you're going to expect to hear in the songs coming up, but they're slightly arranged in a different way. And I thought this would be so cool to get someone to arrange that and then have people that can actually, do the orchestration around that. And I was very fortunate to get in contact with a guy called Tizre, who's sort of a composer, conductor, etc., who did all the string arrangements, and I was completely blown away. And I mean, I said, look, this is the kind of feel that I want for it. And he said, right, okay, give me a week. And I sent him the drum, the bass, the vocal, and guitar track. And he listened to it, and a week later he came back and I was like, wow, okay, this is amazing. So I thought, right, okay, well, what I'd like to do is replicate the original, because I love the original, but also just to give it a slightly different spin on it and a slightly different take. And I'm really pleased with the outcome. And people that have heard that have kind of said, look, you've really got something there, and it's really kind of elevated and really made the track come alive again.
It does sound absolutely fantastic. Right, we're going to highlight 4 tracks which I believe kind of cement a good representation of musical styles created on this album. Here's a snippet of the first one, Done That Before.
We were so blinded that it didn't work. I needed a job, it's no lie, I just need more time. But lifestyle is the end, it kept coming back again. I never wanted something from you I couldn't give. I never felt good enough, baby, in the way that you live. I never wanted something from you I couldn't
Gianna, you're one of the featured vocalists on the album, and like with the other artists featured, you guys are located all over the place globally. Gianna, firstly, where are you based? And just to just share with me your thoughts on your involvement with Tisrae and this album, and also your musical background. I presume you do work with other artists.
Yeah, so it's super cool that we're all over the globe. I think it definitely gives us a really good perspective on music, and like every part of the globe is different. So we all have different experiences with music. So being, part of different places, it gives us a really good understanding of what people will want, and we're able to kind of mix and match our styles and our experiences to create a really, really like nice piece of music. But yeah, I'm from California, so the US. And yeah, it was great working with Terry, and it was so fun, like to get a song and just to work on it and try to interpret each one a little bit differently, because they all have different lyrics, different meanings, the tone is different, the background music is different, everything is different for each one. And also they were really, really good with kind of letting me be a little bit more artistic, saying, okay, Gianna, if you have a suggestion or if you want to sing this a little bit differently, we'll kind of see how it goes. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And so it was really, really fun to be able to kind of use my experience as an artist to kind of see how we can create a really, really cool piece of music. And then as for my musical background, I've been singing since I was 5 and taking lessons for music since I was 5. So definitely a long time. But yeah, I have worked with other artists and producers, and I do have some other songs out. You can take a listen. Just look up Gianna Juliet and it will come up. But it was really interesting. Like I said, the way that approached me was definitely different than a lot of producers. So they are very involved with the artists themselves, not just like, oh, you're just a voice for the music. No, they really want to get to know you, and they want to see how you perform as an artist and kind of interpret their music. So it was really an enriching experience to work with them.
Okay, and Amber, what about you?
I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa, which I am sure you can tell by my British, not really British accent. I started singing properly around 10 years ago, I'd say. I started training after one of my teachers saw something special, I would say, in my voice. And from then, I've been kind of doing performances and lots of little talent shows and stuff, just kind of working on my singing and how I perform. Then around 2018, I started working online, trying to make a bit of income with my voice. I was approached and I was only asked to sing about 6 songs at first, but now I think I've sung about 19. I've been working with Tizre for about 2 years now, and it's been a great experience actually, because the songs I get are always really cool to work with. They're very different, and I get to play around with how I approach it vocally. I work with other artists all the time, but I think I've definitely worked with Tizre the most.
Okay, and Silverio as well. How did you get involved, and what is your background?
Hi there, my name is Silverio. I am based in south of Brazil, and my involvement with Tizre was because Terry and I had a common friend called Ryan Noonan. He's a great drummer, and he told Terry about me, and Terry reached out to talk about the project. It was from the previous release, the Pursuit of Happiness, and we did some good stuff there. I recorded some guitars, and then for this new record, as we already had a really good chemistry between us, we continued to work together. It was really fun. I love it. When I listened to the album, Terry sent me to listen to the songs, how it was getting done. My goodness, I love it. Every single one. And about my journey in music, I started playing guitar about 12 years old. And then I started to teach and play in, graduations, festivals like music competition where you have the singers competing and you have a sports band. I usually was in this sport band, so I learned a lot from other genres, music that you probably would not go find out how to play, and you learn a lot of harmony and melodies and stuff. It's a very good school too. Then about 2007, I started to produce, and 2010 I got in studio properly, and from there I started to play bass and keyboards too. So since then I am playing and producing and working with many musicians of various genres. I am part of a group of nativista music, which is uh, kind of folkloric music from the south of Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay. We have many rhythms that are common, and it's really nice. It's a whole new universe, all acoustics. It's pretty cool. I also am part of a prog rock / metal band called The Opposite of Hate, and we have a album and was part of a collective too. So my career is based on it, and basically producing and recording these two last years, because the live performances are you can't do live performances right now, except if it's live in studio when you do it via some social media. But that's it.
Moving on then, your lyrics, Terry, seem to express very straightforward love songs. Was your aim to simplify the meaning or to ensure it's open to any interpretation?
Well, I think that, I mean, there is, from the first album and the second album, there is a theme of relationship, love, context songs, some that have, sort of cynical twists and turns in it. None of them are autobiographical, by the way. They're just kind of imagined states of relationships and sort of different experiences that people have. But certainly, there is this theme of kind of love, relationships, the breakup of relationships, the beginning of relationships throughout it. But I think, like with most songs that you hear, the artist may have originally had something in mind, or the context of the lyrics, but in fact then when it's released and other people listen to it, then they have their own kind of interpretation to that lyric and make it their own. And I think that's really exciting, that though obviously you can't meet everyone and speak to everyone that listens to these songs, that they listen to the song, that they like it, but with the lyric, they interpret it, what it means to them in their world, or perhaps they're going through something at the moment that really resonates in the lyric with them. So for me, that's the real exciting bit. So I try consciously that when I write the lyric, is that it's open to, it can be open to interpretation quite easily, but have meaning within the music, the sort of the groove, and the feel of the song, so people can really sort of get into it and easily understand it. They hear it and they kind of get it. I don't really want people to think about too deeply about the lyric or overanalyze it. It is what it is, but without too cheesy pop kind of lyrics. I wanted to have a bit more of a significance around that.
Excellent. Right, let's hear just one of the 3 orchestral pieces accompanied by the classic setup of drum, bass and guitar. A cover, Always the Sun, originally done by the Stranglers. Amber, I presume you knew of this song, so what was your approach to this vocally?
I must be honest, I actually didn't really know the song very well at all before I got the brief to do it. I actually learned it quite quickly because the song has quite a simple catchy structure, and the chorus is repeated quite a lot throughout the song. In terms of approaching it vocally, the original singer obviously has a much deeper voice than mine, so I decided to take the chance to turn around the tone of the song completely because of how different my voice is. But I think it still kind of worked because the arrangement was also quite a bit lighter as well in terms of the orchestral arrangement with the violins and everything. But it was still important to sing with and create a hopeful mood because I think the song is about finding hope. There's always the sun in these dark times. It'll be okay. So I kept that in mind when I was singing, and I hope I got that across with my tone.
Have you woken up and prayed for the rain? How many times have you seen the papers apportion the blame? Who gets to say? Who gets to work and who gets to play? I was always told at school everybody should get the same. How many times have you been told? If you don't ask, you're told to get. How many liars have taken your money? Your mother said you shouldn't bet. Who has the fun? Is it always the man with the gun? Someone must have told him if you work too hard, you can sweat. There's always the sun. There's always a sun. Always, always, always the sun.
Nice. Now, Terry, you've also done Electric Blue, originally by Icehouse. Why that song and why from that band?
Okay, so I don't want to be known as someone that does 80s covers music because probably about 80% of our kind of back catalogue and current material is all original stuff. But I guess it's kind of homage to those great 80s bands that have stood the test of time, not only lyrically but melodically, and have kept to their kind of integrity of delivering great pop songs. And I remember this song coming out at the time thinking, it's simplistic but so effective in its delivery of, the lyric, the singing, and I was and still am a big Icehouse fan. So I thought, right, I've got to tackle this one, and so I did. And again, I thought, well, okay, as long as I've got drums, bass, and guitar to really kind of drive it along, I'd be interested to hear an orchestral, piece behind it and see what that sounds like. And again, Tizre did an amazing job of doing that to make. What I really like about having the orchestral arrangement in the song is that it not only uplifts it, it just makes it a lot more, I think, dramatic. It's like with Always the Sun, it just adds a little bit more drama and depth to those tracks. So that's principally the reason why. It's a bit like with our new single that's coming out on the 30th of April, which is a classic one-hit wonder that was in the 80s, done by Susan Fassbender and her colleague Kay Russell, Twilight Cafe, which is such a straightforward, catchy pop song. You can't help dancing to it, you can't help singing along to it. And I thought, right, I've got to do that. And Amber sings on that, and the result of it is classic drums, bass, guitar, vocals, keyboards, and I'm so pleased with the outcome of it and really excited to release it as a single.
The music grabs me, spins me round and round. My spirit soars no longer smashed to the ground. The cares and worries of a busy day just slide across me as I start to play. Walk down the high street, I'm on the neon lights. Pretty soon I'll find my way to the twilight cafe.
So that's out on the 30th of this month.
30th of April, correct, yeah.
Excellent. Right, the rest of you guys, can I ask, what do you feel are the advantages to remotely recording and perhaps some of the disadvantages? I mean, you guys have never met yet, have you?
Yeah, you're right. We've never met before, which is kind of crazy that we've worked together for so long and we've never met in person, just like over email and stuff. So I would say the advantages are that we're able to be a little bit more global. So as you said previously, we're from all over the world. So being able to kind of do that is very, very difficult if you're not working remotely. So that's definitely the biggest advantage. I would say the disadvantages are kind of a lot of time things, you know, time zones are different. Everything like that is kind of difficult. But then again, we still have email and we have all of those. So it kind of makes it a lot easier now that we have all those kind of advantages in the 21st century. It's kind of a lot easier to kind of do those things. But I would say that another thing is the recording process. When you're actually recording, like not remotely, you're in a studio and you can kind of have feedback right then and there. But when you're recording remotely, there's none of that. You kind of record it, you finish it, then they get to hear it. That can sometimes become an issue. I didn't really have too much of that with Terry. I do know that it can be an issue, and I've had that problem with other songs that I've done. So yeah, that's definitely the disadvantage.
I'd say the biggest advantage is definitely the convenience, because I don't really have to like get up and get dressed and drive anywhere to a recording studio. I can just get out of my bed and take a few steps into my cupboard where my microphone is set up and get going. Although, again, one of the disadvantages with that is you have to be your own recording engineer. So that's kind of where I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the recording process, because you always have to get like the right position and the right gain levels, because the thing is I can get these amazing takes, but they're unusable because either the gain was too low and it's too soft, or the gain was too loud and it's distorted. So it's a little bit difficult there, but I have quite a few years of experience now and I'm definitely getting better at that. So there's both an advantage and disadvantage there of creative freedom with remote recording, because I'm basically just given the track, the reference and the lyrics and told, go, please sing this. So again, I'm given total creative freedom in how I want to approach the song, which I think is part of Tizre's charm and their uniqueness. I think leaving space for creative freedom is really important in online collaboration, because if you're in a studio, or unless you're on a Skype call at the same time while you're recording, you don't get instructions and direction as you go. And in this environment, I don't think you're ever going to get the exact take you want in your mind. Otherwise, you're going to have to ask your vocalist to sing the same thing like 200 times until you get it exactly the way you want it.
Right, let's hear another track from Hope Over Destruction. This is Anything.
Talk about it, at least try to explain. As I
I pick up a vibe of early 80s disco funk. What is the influence there, Terry?
Oh, well, the influence there is that I love kind of your classic sort of 70s, 80s disco funk tracks. And, I was always into kind of like the sort of new wave, new romantic, electronic music era. And then some friends were getting into this kind of, disco orientated music. And I was quite easily influenced in terms of the groove. I think I remember hearing Chic for the first time and was blown away by, Bernard Edwards' bass playing and the singing and, just everything about it. So, and I thought, right, okay, this time I'd like to make an attempt at creating my own sort of funk electronic kind of song but with a really good sort of catchy hooky bass line to it. And again, very pleased with the outcome of it. And Gianna does a cracking job on the vocals on that. So yeah, it's certainly the influence there has been driven by listening to great sort of funk disco orientated music.
Excellent. What I liked about this collection of songs is the diversity of genres and the tempos. Gianna, you sing on believing. The lyrics suggest that the isolation of not being in love or being alone. How do you interpret the lyrics, and how did you find this influence on your approach vocally?
So yeah, the lyrics are definitely pretty deep. I mean, it's not any little teeny bopper song. It definitely has some really deep-rooted thoughts. And I think that one way or another, we've all felt kind of isolated, like nobody really cares and what's going to happen, very uneasy kind of feeling. That's kind of the vibe from the beginning that I got from the song. So it kind of went along with that. And with a song like this, it's really important to kind of interpret it vocally, where you want the audience to know how you feel. You want to put yourself in that kind of person's shoes that you're singing about. Kind of like acting, you have to kind of make the audience feel, okay, this is what I'm going through. And so mentally, I kind of had to process my emotions and look at the lyrics and really understand what they meant. And that's just how I sang. I mean, I didn't think, I need to sing this more sad or more whatever. It's just kind of, you have to put yourself in those shoes, and then it just comes out naturally. So that's how I portrayed those lyrics and kind of approached it vocally.
Great. Now let's hear a clip of this. It's Believing.
Try, yeah, when there's hope and breathing, bitterness, tears I cry. We need creation. It's how we all grow. But if I'm still believing, why am I living
Right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing some of the insights on the release and what's been going on. Hope Over Destruction is out on all major streaming platforms from May the 10th. I will be getting a copy of that because from what I've heard so far, it's absolutely fantastic. So all the best, and I will look forward to hearing the rest of the album when it comes out.